I'm totally off today, man.
Hey,
I forgot about the music.
Welcome to another episode of The Last Angry DJ. My name is Mitch Hill. This is episode number 85, as you can see right there. Mitchell K.C. Hill, let's be specific. But we just thought we'd just jump into the show here today because we can, and we had interesting things to talk about before the show goes on. But Alex, how much do you chop off of the show before we actually get recorded and sent out over the Spotify, Pandora, et cetera, et cetera? Do we get a lot or just a little bit?
Not that much. Well, I mean, it's the first 5 minutes, so whatever you see on the countdown, and that's kind of the point of the countdown, is it allows us an easy spot where we can just trim the top of that, and we trim a little bit at the end, but that's basically it.
Yeah, well, why don't we talk a little bit today about why we do what we do to make the show a show? I think we've been doing this long enough that people might be interested in that. And meanwhile, I can introduce my friend who you just saw briefly, Mr. Alex Knight, who is our producer and our co-host of the show. And he's the guy that holds the flag for technology. And we'll also tell you a little bit about how to reach out and touch. So, Mr. Touch, here he is.
Thanks, Mitch. Yeah, it's good to be here for episode 85. I'm a little tired, and I think that's why I'm a little bit off and missing my cues, but it's good to be here for The Last Angry DJ, the show that intersects old media versus new media, but unlike Iron Chef, it's not about whose industry reigns supreme. We talk about the world of broadcast, YouTube, podcasts, all that sort of stuff. It's kind of just a blanket term that we use to talk about our industries and content creation and all the challenges that we're facing. People are not spending the amount of money that they used to with ad spends. People are getting fired left, right, and center. What's going on? But we got somebody who is going to help us out a little bit about that. We have a really important person on our panel who's actually very well entrenched in the industry, who owns actual radio stations, who has
lots of money,
little gravitas in this industry.
He's loaded.
And that is Mark. How's it going, Mark?
Well, I was loaded before radio. I'm not sure the same as... Alex, Mitch, how are you?
Hey,
all right, everybody, send us your questions. Ask.thelastangry.dj.com. That's ask.thelastangry.dj.com, and we'll get them answered for you. Mitch, over to you.
Thank you, Mark, for that. And please ask those questions now, because in this country, eventually you're not going to be allowed to ask any questions about anything. You're just going to look, Mark's got his face on. You got to switch to Mark's face. You can't miss it. There's Mark's face. He can't believe that I'm saying this. Ask him now, because you may not literally be able to ask questions of people on the air in the future, because it'll break some kind of FCC rule. I'm just speculating. Think of it's like Logan's Run. You know, you got to hold your hand up, and if you got the little circle with the, what does it turn red and starts blinking? On Logan's Run, when you're too old and you got to go in the lottery. What was the age cut? I think it was like 30, wasn't it, Alex? On the original Logan's Run?
I don't remember the exact age, but it might have been 30. It was pretty young.
Yeah, what they did was that it's a book by, I guess Crichton wrote it, one of his first books. You look it up and see who wrote Logan's Run. But it's a great movie back in the day. And it was like kind of looking into the future as we know it. A lot of stars on that. Peter Ustinov was on it. Farrah Fawcett was in it. A bunch of people. So anyhow, what was old was new again. So I've already passed my expiration date. I don't have the circle anymore because I got it wet and it just fell off. It's like a Post-it note or something like that. So here we are, show number 85. It's a broadcast Boffins edition, which, by the way, Boffins is what Alex says it is. So once again, we're going to check just to make sure we're right. Alex, what's a Boffin? Just so I'm on the right target here with you. A Boffin, an English term maybe?
You always frequently ask. I feel like I should have this permanently pinned to my screen. What is the English term? It means a nerd, basically.
It's a technical term.
British slang
for boffin.
Boffin. And do this in real time right now. It is a British, according to Wikipedia, boffin is a British slang term for a scientist, engineer, or other person engaged in technical or scientific research and development.
I already checked that out, and that's what it said. I think Boffins was used in the Star Wars movies. No, it wasn't Boffins. What were the many such and suches died to bring this information? about the Death Star. What was it? What did they call it?
I'm no Star Wars expert.
Really? Really? I would have figured you for a top-level Star Wars nerd.
No, I'm a Star Trek over Star Wars any day.
Why can't you have both? Why is there this Star Trek, Star
more power
Wars
to you if you
thing?
love Star Wars. I'm just not a huge Star Wars fan, that's all.
Did you see the Kennedy Center's honor? I guess they were honoring George Lucas, and they had William Shatner doing the presentation. It was pretty funny.
No. Interesting.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
How did that go?
He was dropping all these little innuendos, Star Trek, Star Wars things, and there was a crossover. I think we pointed this out in Strange New Worlds, the season that's running currently. There's a scene where this is actually a Doctor Who crossover, but anyhow, there's a scene where the Enterprise is caught in this web, and up in the corner, tiny little thing, Doctor Who, the TARDIS was sitting there. And a lot of discussion about
Don't
that.
even get me started, Mitch, on the writing of modern-day Star Trek. I'll be here for 3 hours ranting about it.
Well, explain to me, Season 3 is going on, just finished. And Season 4, they're shooting it, and when are they going to release it? Is it this summer?
I don't know.
And when does Captain Pike match up with the canon Pike?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, they're obviously going to have to get there at some point, but I think they're going to try to milk as many seasons of that show as they can.
Yeah, but they've already introduced Jim Kirk as the character that's in Strange New Worlds.
They're just making things up as they go. I mean, I
don't think so. I think they're staying with canon.
We can't spend time on this. We need to get to the actual show topics. I'm just going to get angry. Sorry, Mitch. I'm just going to get angry.
Really?
I hate the right. I think they're clueless. I think they don't understand science fiction, and they don't understand. It's just offensive what they're doing with Star Trek right now.
All right. How do you feel about the
Star Trek? Star Trek has not been good since pre-J.J. Abrams. Like from the 2009 J.J. Abrams
So the Kelvin
movies,
timeline
everything that they've put out has been awful.
Antithesis for you.
Everything has been awful.
How did you feel about the Strange New World episode where they had the singing and dancing?
I stopped watching. I just stopped watching.
It was
the moment they did the musical thing. I couldn't take it.
How did you feel about the episode where
it's just gonna keep going?
They had the cartoon characters from Lower Decks.
I didn't get that far. I'm not. I know of it because people have talked about it, and I have zero interest. Zero.
How do you feel about the episode that's been hinted at where Pike is on? All the characters are now Muppets. They're soft plush Muppets.
Again, jump the shark. I think that's the term that applies.
So you're saying they've gone too far. All right, maybe they have. I definitely didn't like the musical one. That just took me way too far, farther than I was willing to go. But the young people seem to like it. So what are you going to do? And the fact that they're going to tie into canon, but which canon? Is it going to be the Kelvin version, or is it going to be they're going to have all the same characters? How do they explain some of the characters that are on? Anyhow, I'm very confused by it. But if you have a question, thelastangrydj.com, there's 2 questions standing by. Ask thelastangrydj.com. So we'll get to the questions in just a second, but let's start out with some of the headline news. Alex, you have some things you want to tell us that are going on in the world of broadcast.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first one on the agenda was Netflix and Spotify have formed a partnership, and the plan is to bring select Spotify video podcasts, and this includes podcasts from Bill Simmons' The Ringer Network, to Netflix. And I just wanted to go around the table here and just get everybody's thoughts, including our audience, everyone who's joining the show live right now, including the people that are chatting, Jerry Hoyle, Pedro Gonzalez, anybody else, and if you're feel free to speak up here. Let us know what you think about this. How do you feel about podcasts? Something that is traditionally you'd find in either audio format in a podcast app or video on YouTube. How do you feel about that transition, about that line getting crossed? Something that is, we historically associate with cinema, right? And cinema could be TV shows and movies. How do you feel about podcasts landing on Netflix? And I feel conflicted about that because I feel like they have their place, but I feel like a platform like Netflix isn't really. I just feel like those platforms should stay in the cinema world, and I don't know how successful it's going to be for them. That remains to be seen, but it just feels weird to have podcasts on Netflix. What do you think, Mitch?
Well, I think that we've already indicated, and we followed the lead from Office Hours, that a podcast can be a video podcast. It doesn't have to be just audio. So we're already buying into the idea that there's a visual context to the program. But at the same time, if it's being listened to as an audio only, we should take that into account. So if we're talking about something, we should explain what it is that we're looking at. I'm saying, well, my room is kind of interesting. It's got kind of a blue theme. I've got an on-the-air light that's sitting there behind my Neumann U87. See, when you start doing that, you're helping people out that can't see it, either because they can't see or they're listening on an audio only. So I think the next big step for podcast being popular is to add video component. The problem is a lot of people don't know how to do it well. I mean, a lot of the video that we see, even with some of our guests that we've brought on, is really kind of bad. So it kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. If you're going to do video podcast, you got to do it right. Do you not agree, Alex? And then let's go to Mark, see what he thinks.
I 100% agree. I mean, the production quality has to be there. And I don't watch a lot of those. I mean, I don't go to Spotify for anything. And I know some of those shows were originally on YouTube, and then they formed very, very lucrative deals with Spotify to bring their shows exclusively to Spotify. Now, for example, I think the best example of that is Joe Rogan. Now, Joe Rogan's, speaking of production quality, Joe Rogan's podcast is not a good-looking show. Like, he's got really old cameras, bad lighting, and he did supposedly some kind of $100 million deal to bring the Joe Rogan experience to Spotify, but he's actually since moved it away. I think that contract ended, and he's now moved it back to YouTube. So the production quality, I think, has got to be there to have something on Netflix. I think it has to be at a certain bar. So it remains to be seen. Like, also, how much of the Netflix production team are they going to influence the production of these video shows? Are they going to retool the sets to kind of raise the level of quality for Netflix, or are they just going to keep them the same? Those are things that we don't have answers to yet, but it'd be really interesting to see how this plays out, Mitch.
Mark, add video to radio, and what does it do?
Well, let's take a step back before we get there. So Spotify purchased this group before, in 2000? Is that
Ringer?
right? Alexander Ringer was purchased
Ringer,
in 2000 by Spotify. And so now you have Netflix getting into this, and you have to ask yourself, is Netflix having a difficult time continually making the shows that they're making? I know they rebroadcast a lot of things, but they also have their own studio. And what's happening is people are binge watching. So they're taking a weekend binge watching a season. Well, before you know it, you can't keep everybody happy because there's not enough content, because they're constantly watching this stuff now. So is this a way that Netflix is going to try and have other people make the content daily so they can constantly put new information on there? They've got the background with their production teams to go in and make this content better. Because I agree, Rogan's is great at doing interviews, but the set just doesn't seem like they put a lot of money into it. So you've got Netflix now, the power of Netflix coming to these podcasts and being able to up the game and compete with broadcast. Now, back to the question that Mitch just asked, how does that work for radio? I think it works well for radio because it's all part of making radio more interactive. And 90% of communication is nonverbal. But Mitch, you said something really important earlier. When you're talking on radio, traditional broadcast radio, you have to be very descriptive because you have to paint a picture in the listener's mind of what it is you're talking about. So writing a commercial traditionally for radio is much different than writing a commercial for television, because television, you've got the video component doing all the describing for you. So it's a whole different way of writing. And, radio station budgets aren't set up for the additional cost of video. And people think, well, you're already broadcasting. You've already got the audio set up. Just add some pictures to it. Well, video takes an enormous amount of space, an enormous amount of time to edit, and it's just a whole different game. So it's going to be interesting to see how all this plays out, how the budgets play out, how Netflix can add to podcast.
Yeah, our friend Hershey has commented that he likes it when I take the time to explain what it is that's visually being shown. And Hershey, I do it for you sometimes, but sometimes I just do it naturally to explain what's going on. So, to what Mark was saying, it's naturally done by radio people to describe the stage that they're appearing on. But I think people are interested in, the visual presentation. We're not blowing anybody away with our sets here, but we, first of all, like Alex said, we have good quality video, and it's always nice to be able to see, who's that schlub that's just making that comment, and I'm the schlub. Most of the time that's making the comment. And you're also getting an idea how old I am, because if you just listen to my voice, how old do you think I would be? I bet people would think that I'm in my 30s, but I'm not. I'm 71 years old. So the visual adds another, and plus we're human beings. We're used to visual cues, part of the body language that we use when we're talking. And it doesn't come naturally. You get a lot of people just out of radio going on camera. They're like, they're gazing around the room. Their hands don't know where to go. They're doing things with, that you shouldn't be doing while you're, on camera. You got a scratch in your ear. You're aware that you're on camera. And our good friend Ray Franklin has explained how to make that presentation. So I think visual is where it's at. It's a natural progression to enhancing what it is that we do as podcasters. I don't know if you have to call it now a video podcast, but whatever it is, if it has a visual component, that's considered to be a plus. Does it have to be 4K? Maybe. Does it have to be HDR? Maybe, maybe not. I think it's bullshit, but Alex feels strongly about it. So there you go. I think we've covered that subject pretty well, and we'd like to hear what your opinions are. And you guys know how to interact with us. Let us know if you like the idea that you're going to see. But a lot of this came from what we saw happening on Office Hours, because Office Hours does their show live, and then it's available later to be able to be downloaded. That's exactly how we're doing it. And Alex, how do you get all of that stuff transferred? Because I know you have your hands full doing the show. What do you have to actually do to make all that happen? Take a visual show that we do now live on YouTube via Zoom. How does it get turned into a podcast?
It's actually simpler than you would think. So basically, when we produce this show, we are recording the audio tracks, and basically I record ISO audio tracks, and I also record the program, which is basically the stereo mix of all of us, and I take that in my editor, and I just basically chop the little bit of it during the pre-show countdown, and then whatever dead air is at the end, right after the end credits ends, and then I upload that to our podcast host, which is Buzzsprout. And it's basically as simple as putting in the title of the episode, the description, and hitting publish. In fact, as far as the audio, normally there would be manual labor involved with audio processing, just to make sure that we're aiming our overall loudness target correctly. And I used to do that, which was a little bit more work. But now I'm paying for what Buzzsprout calls its AI magic mastering. And actually what that is, it's not AI magic or anything like that. They actually partnered with a company called Auphonic, AUPHONIC. It's all done in the cloud. It sends the audio over to their servers, and Auphonic processes the whole audio, loudness normalizes it to the target that I want. Now we distribute that episode as a stereo audio file, and it loudness normalizes it to -16 LUFS, which is what the recommended target is. So some of that work is being done by it, but really there's not that much work. I can get this episode out as a podcast very quickly after the show finishes.
Is it available as soon as as it's being recorded? I mean, we're live right now, and there's some people.
Well,
what do we have,
it depends how busy I am. Usually I will upload. So usually I will upload it on Monday. So we're broadcasting this live now on Sunday afternoon. Usually when I wake up the next day, I'll just upload it to our host, and then that goes out to all platforms. And as you know, it is available pretty much all places that you would find a podcast. Mark?
And why are people interested. Sorry, Mark. Why are people interested in hearing it live? Maybe they want to see us make a horrible, egregious error in our presentation, and they want all the bloopers. Or maybe they like to see Mark smiling and reacting.
The thing is, if you listen to a podcast on demand, the thing is now you've lost the interaction. So the Q&A, being feeling like you're being part of the show, interacting with people. There's just a different vibe. There's a different quality to it, and you feel like you're more engaged and part of the show. And I think it's a different experience. Both are very, very valid. They're just very, very different.
There you go. Mark, you were saying something before I interrupted you.
It was more a technical question. So if you're streaming to YouTube, you get a stream key, you plug it in, you go to the encoder, and you stream. Can you do that same thing with Apple and their podcast, the way it's set up, or does it have to be pre-recorded and you load it up?
Yeah, it has to be pre-recorded. There's no real live to send to. Yeah, it's just you upload an MP3 file and it goes up. It goes into an RSS feed. There's nothing really sophisticated. Actually, the underlying technology of podcasting is really creaky and old, and RSS dates back to the 90s. So there's nothing modern or live about podcasts.
That's me, creaky and old. That's perfect, explanation of what I am on the show. So this is the reason we do it, so that we can get live interaction. Speaking of which, we have some questions coming in. Mark, why don't you tell us what they are?
Okay, from Pedro Gonzalez in Nashville, Tennessee. For male talent with deeper voices, do you find that they choose microphones that have good low-end presence or mics that are brighter?
All right, I'll take that first. First of all, we had the wrong question up there, but you heard what he said.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened with that. That's weird.
This is so complicated, guys. And first of all, poor Alex is doing everything. He's TDing the show, he's switching, he's doing miracles, and he's a co-host of the program. So I'm just giving him an out here. He's doing the best he can. All right, to answer the question that came in, most people that are getting into broadcasting think that they want to sound like James Earl Jones or some other famous, Don LaFontaine, in a world guy. And they think that the microphone or the processing is going to make them sound that good. No, it's not. No, it's not. It might cover a problem you might have with your voice. If you're not loud enough, it might help that. If you don't have enough bass response in your voice in your presentation, it's not really going to make up for that because it doesn't sound natural. When you start pumping the bass up on your processor or EQ, if it's not there, it's not there. If you start manufacturing it, that's going to be muddy and gross and crappy. So the answer to your question, we would probably suggest that if you're getting into it and you've established yourself enough that you know what your voice sounds like. I don't have the deepest voice in the world, but I got a pretty deep voice. But I don't. I'm not out there sounding like, James Earl Jones. Luke, I'm your father. I just can't go that low. So why would I push something that isn't there in the first place? So we may have a little processing to keep the levels consistent. We may. I think in my voice, my strength is I have a voice that cuts through. It's got a lot of mid-range frequency, upper mid-range, like 4K. Stuff like that, and that cuts through well. And Alex, you mix live events all the time. If you try to EQ something that's not there, whether it's a guitar or a piano or somebody's voice, it just uncovers a multitude of problems. You can't manufacture presentation and bass response.
Well, actually, that's interesting. That's not true in the world of live sound. Oftentimes, one of our jobs as a live sound engineer is to actually manufacture stuff that is not there, and there's all sorts of, I can't really spend a ton of time on that because it's out of scope for this show, but there are, I will say that there are tools that we have to employ as engineers to solve all sorts of problems. And sometimes, for example, when it comes to miking instruments, for example, there are a combination of techniques that involve not only putting a microphone in front of a speaker cabinet, but often using DI boxes, that's a direct injection box, and blending those two, and all sorts of trickery with EQ to get it to sound the way you want it to sound like.
Okay, I'm wrong. I can only speak for my own voice.
You heard it here first. You heard it here first.
I'm wrong. I can only speak for my voice. You want presence and you want bass when it's there. Alex just did something to his microphone. It sounds better to me. I can hear it. I don't know if you guys are hearing it, but he sounds like he's got a little more presence on his AKG 414. He's got
I can talk about that now.
Why don't you explain why you sound like you have more presence?
Yeah, so it's interesting. A friend of mine, he has a company called Magneto Audio Labs, and he has this really cool product, and I'm going to cut to it so you can see it. Oop,
it's a clock.
Not what I wanted to cut to. There's the wide cam. Sorry,
there you go.
So it's this box right here. It's called the Vari-Ohm. This is a passive box, and it is a variable ohm or variable impedance box. You can see it's got switches here, and it has impedance settings for 50, 200, 300, 600, 1.2, and 2.4K ohms.
Why don't you explain to people, sorry to interrupt, what impedance is?
Yeah, so basically impedance, now every microphone has like if you look at the spec sheet of a microphone, for example, this C414 here, I'm going to go back to me for a second. We'll look at that device in a sec. So basically, when you look at a spec sheet for a microphone, like this vintage C414 BULS, which they don't make anymore, it's a bit finicky, and sometimes vintage mics are finicky in terms of the output impedance. This has a 180 ohms impedance. It's really important to actually, the relationship between the impedance of the mic and the preamp is actually quite critical, because that will affect the tone of the microphone. Okay, so basically with the general rule is that a mic preamp should be about roughly 3 times the impedance of the microphone in order for it to work and operate and sound the best. But that is kind of a scientific rule, but there are things you can do to play with the sound of the microphone. So just because the general rule is to have the impedance be 3 times the microphone doesn't mean that microphone is going to sound best at that setting, which is where this box comes in, because sometimes you can tonally change the microphone for the better, and this is where you have to use your ears by playing with the settings to see whether or not you actually like it. Now, I played around with the settings on this box, and I found that at 200 ohms, the best way I can describe it is that without this box and the chain, I felt like the microphone was a little bit more boxed in, and this kind of just opened up the sound of the microphone a little bit more. It sounds less compressed and it sounds more natural, and I actually ended up gaining about 6 dB of gain with this passive box inserted. So I really like the tonal characteristic that it is imparted. It has a really nice transformer inside this box to do this, but it's actually imparting some kind of character to the microphone, and it works with both condenser microphones and also dynamic microphones. So
impedance is a complicated term because it's expressed in resistance. So you would think, well, it's a resistor. It's not just a resistance. It's also the inductance. And if I'm confusing you by using another term, that what was inductance? Inductance is what a coil gives you if you send a current through it. It's pushing back against that current. So a combination of the resistance of the microphone and the inductance of the microphone is impedance. And it's best described as when you push your signal through a system at a certain impedance, it's a matter of how much it pushes back against that. And the closer the impedance on the transmitting side and the receiving side meet, the better transfer of power and current. So the thing that Alex is describing is as you change that impedance, you're changing a variety of things that affect that transfer of power, which can affect how loud it is and also affects the frequency response, because the impedance can affect higher frequencies and lower frequencies and other things like that. That's why the old Neve processors, like I've got over here on my U87, have a very interesting character to them, because the combination of transformers, which are necessary to get in real cool impedance, makes a unique sound. And I agree with what Alex is saying, is that you can craft your sound a little bit by going in there and tweaking those adjustments so it's affecting the transfer of power at different frequency ranges. And I hear in his mic with that thing flowing a little more presence. It's got a little more bite to it. It's not so much as this. Like the classic MV7 was a very kind of a muffled microphone if you're talking through one without any processing.
Are you
the MV7.
Mitch, you're talking about the SM7, the MV.
SM7, you are correct. Brain drain again. SM7, it was always a little bit like this. So you had to compensate. And like Alex was saying, you can compensate.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because I tested various dynamic mics, including an RE20, and I did actually test an SM7B, and every single microphone that I tested has sounded better through this box. And in fact, with dynamic microphones, oftentimes the impedance that is optimal is actually considerably higher. Like I find that with dynamic microphones, that actually sounds best on the 2.4 K ohms setting, which is the highest impedance. It just really makes that microphone sound quite a bit better, including the SM7B. So it's been a really interesting experience, and I'm not going to actually. I could bypass it right now, but I don't want to do it because my level is going to drop dramatically there. But I really like what it's done. So that's my new toy. One of my new toys this week. Mitch.
It's a passive device too. It's not doing this electronically. Yeah. Well, it is, but it's not doing it with an active circuit. It's doing it via transformers.
Right.
Things like that.
Exactly.
Cool. All right. Next question coming up, Mark.
Our next question is from, I hit answer. It didn't go. Okay. Jerry Hoyle in Wesley Chapel, North Carolina. In the Ask Your Questions Here chat box in Mukana, where you choose the question topic, who is Rob Carson? Well, Jerry, you missed last week because Rob Carson was the guest last week, and Rob Carson is a radio talent that is syndicated on 35 or 40 radio stations across the country, and he also has a show that airs on Sundays, a TV show on Newsmax, and so he was our guest last week. And what did you guys think? How was Rob as a guest?
Yeah, I think it was great. If you're asking us, I mean, in fact, Rob is the kind of guy you want to come back to once in a while because he's got a very definite opinion about how radio is and how it got to where it is, and he's been in it long enough, certainly almost as long as I've been in it. So it's nice to have somebody there that can also mention that. And by the way, that's a holdover on that topic from last week's Mukana, and it's definitely not in this week's Mukana. And if it shows up, maybe you have to refresh your browser to make sure
it's not showing up for me. I deleted it.
I cleaned it out.
Thanks for doing
it. Was showing up in the beginning.
Okay.
So Jerry's right. You didn't have to refresh, Jerry. I cleaned it up.
Yeah, we could add another topic what color is Mark's underwear? Does he wear tighty whities or does he go for boxers? Oh, underwear. See, he's commando. So we'd have like tighty whities, yada yada, and commando, whichever is good. And since we only get to be seen from the waist up, who cares? Who cares about that? So that's it for the questions for now. Again, Mark, how do people reach out to us? If they
we have one more question. We have one more question.
Keep them coming.
All right. Pedro Gonzalez from Nashville, Tennessee is back. How much audio compression is used in traditional radio as compared to podcast? Why use compression?
I know that Alex has a very definite idea, but I'll speak for radio. We'll have the counterpoint thing here. Radio loves compression because we typically put it on our microphone and we put it on the output of the broadcast console, and we put it before it goes into the transmitter. So how much? I'm using about 3 dB, and that's probably light for most radio guys. For a podcast, I think Alex can speak for himself. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, I'm not actually using any. I like compression, but I'm not using any on my voice because with the audio chain of this show, so I'll just explain it briefly for those that are obviously seem interested in this. So we are using a software production-based tool to do this show called Mimo Live, and what we have done is we're piping isolated audio channels of everybody on this show out over Dante, which is audio over IP technology that's going into a Yamaha DM3 digital mixer as isolated channels, and I'm processing those channels, and there are various stages of gain and compression and limiting, each of those stages doing very, very light jobs, and in summation, it is enough to level everything out and bring the overall volume of the audio to a place that is actually usable for YouTube. So the goal is, because they are, if you actually listen to the audio, the raw audio going into Zoom, it's coming in at a much lower level. When we do our mic checks, we use a loudness meter, and we start talking and we're looking at a meter and a number there, and our target is negative 24 LUFS, which is the broadcast, a broadcast standard.
Can you show that?
We're pushing it. We're pushing.
Are you able to show it?
Oh, can I?
I just thought maybe if you're going to explain it, if you had the ability to show it, people.
No, you know what? I can't cut to it at the moment. But anyways, yeah, it would be a lot quieter if you heard the audio that is coming into Zoom. So we're using various processing stages to get this sound out to YouTube, and hopefully it sounds good. One of the things that drives me insane is audio processing, because I live in that world, and if a show's volume is all over the place, if it's either too loud or too quiet, it drives me absolutely crazy. So we try our best to make sure that the live stream audio going out to you is at a good enough level, because let's face it, a lot of us are listening in loud environments now. So we're listening on mobile devices, we're in cars commuting to work, we're in maybe we're outside going for a walk, you got cars driving by on the street, and so it needs to be loud, and all these streaming platforms have different recommended loudness levels. YouTube kind of has a ridiculously loud target. They want you to target negative 14, which in my opinion becomes far too compressed. So I try to aim for around negative 18. That's the number that we are aiming for. And Mark, looks like Mark's got
so I think Mitch can address this better than I can, but long before digital, the FCC had requirements for broadcast to be at certain levels. And the idea was that the commercials weren't louder, or vice versa, than what was being broadcast over the air for the radio stations and the TV stations. So part of this is the standards the FCC set and where you have to be, and that's why radio's so concerned about making sure all of that sound is at a somewhat similar level.
Yeah,
right?
well, in the old days, a engineer tracked the voice of the person with the volume control. If it got too loud, they turned it down. If it got too high,
that was the compressor. Was the human
they literally
being.
Their hand was the compressor. When the AGC first came along, companies like CBS Laboratories made a thing called an Automax, which was a very smart little AGC that did level adjustments. Here's the deal. I mean, against my opinion, but I think this is where it should really come out, and I think Alex would probably agree with this, is that the best kind of audio processing or compression is the one where you don't hear it working. If you hear it working, or it's clamping down on the voice, or it's sucking up the background noise when they stop talking, that's too much compression. There's no need for that. But if I'm going to get really loud and start talking like this, my symmetric is jumping in, I just cut it down by 5 dB. That's where it makes sense to have that. Otherwise, you're down the line, you're going to overload the satellite, or you're going to overload Zoom, or you're going to overload Alex's sensibilities. All of those are pretty serious things. So you don't want to, overdo that. So AGC used sparingly makes the most sense. The problem is the average person thinks, well, this little bit of AGC I'm using, or compression, sounds great, so a lot of it's got to sound better, right? No. It starts to add little artifacts and problems and things that engineers' ears are used to. I'm very, very sensitive to how my voice sounds, and that's why I'm using a processor on my microphone, because I have this dialed in the way I want my voice to sound. It's like my axe. I want it to sound this way. And then overall, Alex is responsible for making sure all of us are balanced so that we're all in the same ballpark, because nobody wants to listen to a show where one thing is louder than the other, including commercials. So all those standards, even though the FCC pushes them out there, and strangely enough, that LUFS thing that you heard Alex talking about really is only applied to, as far as the strict rule is concerned, to television. There are recommendations on YouTube. People may or may not pay attention to it, but there are none of those in radio, strangely enough. There's modulation, but that's not really compression. And the thing that Mark was talking about earlier is if you had an AM radio station, you used to have to watch the modulation monitor, and you couldn't overmodulate your transmitter more than 100 Or if you went to 110, it was okay once in a while if you did that. On FM, it's the same thing. If you overmodulate past 100, or 100%, by the way, you're extending the bandwidth of your FM signal, and you're probably stepping on a adjacent radio station. So there's a lot of technical reasons for having it right. There's a lot of good reasons why it sounds good in your ear and doesn't. I really hate processing that clamps down on things that are loud. Like it's like instantaneously loud and then softer. I don't like that. I call it clamping. I don't know what the technical term for it. But a nice soft AGC, yeah, I like that. It's very, very nice. Mark?
No more questions, but you can ask more at ask.thelastangrydj.com.
Ask away. We have another technical subject to bring up, and I'm going to ask Alex to lead with that and tell us what's going on in the world of media.
Yeah, this is interesting. Now, this affects Canada, but I'm curious because I'd also like to know more about how things work in the U.S. and what you guys think about this. So, in Canada, the CRTC, that's the Canadian Radio Telecommunications, I think is what it's called, they are reducing the regulatory burden. This is in their words, basically introducing an indefinite broadcasting license for radio stations so that licensees will no longer need to submit renewal applications. So what do you guys think about that? How does that work in the United States? Do you have that indefinite licenses, or do you have to renew every so often?
That's Mark's thing.
Yeah, we have to renew. It's, I think, every 2 years, I believe.
This seems like a step in the right direction. Don't you think that everybody should do this?
Well, it cuts down on bureaucracy, and I'm sure Mark has enough trouble trying to run his radio station than dealing with a lot of...
He has enough to do. He has enough to do. Make it easy for the guy. Come on.
Overburden. And they charge for that too, right, Mark?
Yeah, yes, they do. Quite a bit.
Yeah, on the average, what's it cost? I mean, I don't say what it costs for you, but what does a radio owner expect?
I think it depends on a lot of things, like what is the wattage, what is the station, what market are you in, so how many listeners do you have? But it's a couple $1,000s.
Right. And in Britain, I believe you have to rent your TV. And don't they have you have to pay so much money for every TV you have in your home? How do they legislate that? Does that mean you got TV police wandering the streets, looking in your windows, or looking to see how many TVs you have upstairs, downstairs, whatever else? I don't know if we have any experts right here, but that's a tough one. All that. Look, if the government's involved, they're going to find their way to get their fingers into the mix there. So I commend the Canadian broadcasting system for trying to simplify things. I think they're talking about doing things like that with the rules here in the United States. But last I think I looked,
I'm sorry,
16,000 radio stations. What's that?
You renew every 8 years. There is something. I'm trying to figure out what you do annually.
You pay your taxes.
No. There's something to do with the FCC we do every year.
There's a lot of things you do with the FCC, including keeping meter readings, and you have to have a public file that's what you're doing.
You submit your regulatory fee instead of renewing your license. You renew your license every 8 years. Every year you have to pay your regulatory fees.
Right, and your license, and this is the thing I laugh at all the time, basically says you are authorized by the FCC to broadcast programming in the public interest to serve your particular geographic region. Now, I know that Mark is sensitive to that and publicly can't say one way or the other, but most broadcasters are not doing that. They're not doing what's in the best interest of their particular constituency. I submit that in Mark's case, because he has a talk station, that he probably is doing more of that than the top 40 rock and roll station down the road. Mark,
yeah, we're doing it more than Sunday mornings between 7 and 9 a.m.
Right.
Like the music stations. But I mean, I think it's the secret to successful local radio is being part of the community and having a lot of the community brought together over radio. So, I mean, to me, it's no secret. It's just simple. Just do it.
So, and you've also seen stories about, I'm speaking to Mark now, that the FCC is now being mandated to simplify some of the stuff, because I think they're overburdened with, I mean, most of the people working in the FCC, by the way, you think of this room where all these technical guys and guys driving around with the old directional parabolic antenna. No, it's a bunch of lawyers. You know, it's mainly lawyers making sure everybody's in compliance. And when people are applying for licenses, and when they have a new thing that they want to try, they request your opinion on whether or not this is something cool. I mean, they're doing the best they can with what they have to work with, and they don't have a lot of time to go chasing down pirate radio stations that are, it's a going concern now. I don't know if you have any down your neck of the woods, Mark, but pirate is a big deal, like in Florida. Stations that are unlicensed that are on the air trying to fill in a little empty space over here, and they're selling time and had jingles, and they're doing a whole broadcast thing.
I haven't heard of that. What I've heard of is people trying to use radio, the technology in radio, to take that same technology and use it for very small venues as a simple way to get audio from one place to another.
You mean like church radio?
Yeah, they'll build a little radio station. Think of like a drive-in movie theater. They'll broadcast that audio through to all the cars over, one of the frequencies that's available, which I don't know the laws. I guess you can do it up to a certain number of watts in a certain distance.
It's regulated by the Part 15 type acceptance. And with FM, it's pretty restrictive. It's restricted by the number of feet, not by the amount of power, which is in milliwatts. AM is a little looser. If you have a smart AM station that's one of these Part 15 radio stations, you can have a really sophisticated antenna system. You might get out 1 or 2 miles, so you could serve your neighborhood. But don't expect that to happen on the AFM side. But the FCC has their hands full. Tracking these things down. And what happens is that the first time they come in, if they catch you doing this, they'll probably make you cease broadcasting, and then they'll take the equipment from you, so you can't do it. And other people just say, okay, we expected that to happen. Or they'll move their antenna from, like in New York City, they'll move their antenna from one building to another. They get busted in one location, then they just move it to another location. And each time the FCC levies a fine. These fines could go up to like $60,000 per occurrence. Pirate radio is a big deal. It's a big deal if your station is being interfered with, which can be a real problem. And interference, co-channel interference, interfering with a translator or an LPFM station that's on the air in your neck of the woods, is a problem. Our friend of the show, Tom Birch, has had some issues where some of his stations are being interfered with illegally by stations in the surrounding vicinity of these stations. And the FCC has got their hands full legislating, telling these people to stop doing that. And then they stop, and then they start doing it again. So I don't want to get into the details. I'd rather bring Tom Birch on to have him talk about what he's dealing with. But he's spent thousands of dollars going through the legal system to prevent these people from continuing to broadcast on frequencies that interfere with other radio stations. The problem is that the bandwidth for FM in particular, especially in large metropolitan areas, is so crowded that there really isn't much room for more translators or LPFM, which are low-power FM stations for educational institutions, things like that, and certainly not for big 3,000, 50,000-watt radio stations. They're pretty much all taken up. So if you want to get into that business, just hang around while these stations that overextended themselves are on the chopping block for a few dollars. I mean, it may be even happening down in your neck of the woods, Mark, where some stations are available for pennies on the dollar because they couldn't make a go of it. They're not smart like you are. So, keep watching. The price is going to go down, not go up. It's a tough business to be in.
I will say the one thing, the one nice, I'm never happy that a radio station is going out of business, but the one positive outcome is for me is that I usually end up getting a lot of their equipment that they're just throwing in the trash.
Oh.
And then I usually end up repairing it. So you can get some nice stuff.
I got this light. Hold on a second. I'll turn it on for a second so you can see.
In fact, that's where I got my two Symmetrics 528Es, Mitch, is I got them
I've got one of them.
Entertainment, they were going digital. And so they gutted all their analog studios, and I got all these channel strips for free.
And by the way, you can buy a Symmetrix 528E on eBay for like $300. And
Oh, you can get them a lot less than that. You can
nice.
get them for $150 now.
Go out and get it. I've got 3 here. Unfortunately, only one of them works, and that's the one Alex gave me. The thing over my head, this on-air light, I pulled it out of the trash over at WSTW, WDEL. It's an old RCA vintage on-air light. It's the streamlined one that has the streamlined sides. It's made out of aluminum. It's got light bulbs in it. It's pretty cool. So, yeah, you're right. Stations going off the air. If you're like a hobbyist or interested in having a Part 15 type radio station, AM or FM, go to your local radio station. I guarantee you they got old stuff that's sitting on shelves. I mean, I remember I went to Wham's, their back closet. They had some CBS Labs processors. They had an old RCA 77DX microphone just sitting on a shelf that nobody wanted to use anymore. Nobody wanted to use a beautiful old ribbon microphone. And who would have known that 20, 30 years later that microphone was worth some dollars. So I just admitted that, I helped myself for it, and somebody helped themselves from me. So it moved up and down the food chain, so to speak. So, yeah, it's cool stuff. And nowadays, also, Mark, you're talking about updating your station at some point, your analog studios. I suggest that it's possible that you could do this all on the cloud now. I don't think you need to have physical equipment in your studio anymore. Talk to the gang at Telos. I think they're doing cloud-based mixing and processing and the whole works. So you just go on a browser and off you go.
It's great until the internet goes down. And it sounds like, well, the internet's been around here a while. It's not going to go down. But all it takes is an unfortunate car accident to take down a telephone pole, and there goes the internet.
Well,
and
but
now
that's
we're off the air.
No, that's a legitimate complaint, Mark. But also, if you're going to be doing some kind of cloud-based solution like that, you'd probably want to have a networking infrastructure that could automatically fail over to a secondary ISP. Like, you would absolutely have to have a secondary ISP, and you have to have the networking infrastructure that can just faster than a human being just flip over to that secondary ISP to do that.
Okay, but the problem in this country is that the utility companies, and I'm going to call a cable company utility company, have basically split up the market. So, the big names that we know of have different neighborhoods, and it makes it difficult to get a secondary backup unless you want to use Starlink.
That's fair.
Well, one of the ways that people used to get the studio connected to the transmitter, which was usually at a different site in the market, because sometimes the antenna was very specific about where it had to be put, where the studio could be in the middle of a commerce area so you could have people visit. They'd use a thing called an STL, which is a studio transmitter link. And traditionally, it was done with a transmitter. I think it was like 940 megahertz. He had to license the frequency, and Mosley was the brand everybody used. So you'd have this dish on the top of your building aimed at the tower that was out in the suburbs where the transmitter was, and you would get the signal out to the transmitter that way. And nowadays, they're using IP-based STLs. So they do everything. They even put the MPX signal on the IP connection. So again, it needs the internet to work, or some kind of a dedicated clear line going from the station to the studio. We used to also use a thing called Zephyr that Telos made. They had one of the first ISDN, which was the Integrated Services Digital Network, which used your phone line, which is now obsolete. And you'd be lucky if you got an SDL that used an ISDN, because you're not going to get one from the phone company. Hey, you're lucky to get a wired connection going somewhere from you. Like, you do any broadcast, Mark, where you use a wired connection, not a cell connection or SDL, to get to a sports arena or to a remote location?
Well, when we do remotes, we've done remotes from different places. It depends where we are. There's one place we do a remote from once a month that's very hard to get connectivity. So we'll tie into their Ethernet, but sometimes we'll do it through cellular. We're hosting football games on Friday nights now for high school football.
Cool.
Through one of our partners. And it depends on what stadium they're at. Sometimes they're coming in over a cell phone. Sometimes they're coming in over a Comrex. Sometimes they're coming over, whatever they can try and get to work. Sometimes we've done Starlink.
Yeah, and you're mentioning brand names, not necessarily technology. I mean, Starlink is Musk's satellite system. By the way, you can see those things. They're like polluting the night sky with hundreds of low Earth orbit satellite dishes, so you could get this Starlink connection. It's kind of weird that they're allowing it to happen, but there you go. If you got a lot of money, you can make these things happen. I know we drifted off subject here a wee bit, but people are kind of interested in how the day-to-day operation of a radio station goes. And yeah, if the internet goes down, it's going to affect a lot of businesses. And what a lot of people do for that is if they're using an IP-based or cloud-based system to get the audio to the transmitter site, which is the hard part. That's where the analog stuff happens and the digital stuff happens. They may have a backup system on site at the transmitter. They may have a whole studio there as a backup, or they just might have a tape machine that senses that there's no signal and it clicks on and off it goes and starts playing. In smaller markets, they probably have something that simple, or a backup IP, some cellular signal like Alex was suggesting. So there's lots of little idiosyncrasies. I guess your buddy Walt handles most of that stuff, Mark.
He does. Our station engineer, Walt Palmer, handles most of that.
Yeah, because you didn't get into the business to know about all this technical stuff that it takes to run a radio station or a podcast, and now you're becoming an expert. You not only are you a qualified architect with all those little acronyms after your name, now you're a radio station owner that knows more than the average bear does. So, did you think you'd get into all this stuff by owning a radio station? Because you're a tech guy, and you're now talent, and you're the guy that keeps the pump primed to keep it going, keep it on the air.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
You are. Yeah, you must have a real passion for it. So I salute you for that, and I thank you for your service. And I'm glad you have somebody like Walt to keep the thing going. It used to take like 20 or 30 people at a radio station to keep it going. In a small or medium market, nowadays there might be 4 or 5 people. How many people do you have in your station, Mark, right now?
I would say we have, guessing off the top of my head, 16 right now, because we have
16, but not all there now.
We have 3 live and local shows, so there's 3 announcers right there. We've got Saturdays, so we have a part-timer coming in there. We've got a technical director. We've got Walt, the engineer. We've got people doing traffic. We have people doing news and traffic and sports. And so, and by traffic, the first traffic I meant was radio traffic, which is filling out the automation machine with all the commercials. And that's another thing. If the internet goes down and you're solely relying on the internet, that puts a huge burden on the traffic team that has to sit there and coordinate all the contracts for the commercials with when they're going to play. And that takes a lot of work to go do all the makeups, because you have to send the FCC reports for that every month.
Wow. And when he says traffic, he doesn't mean car traffic. He's talking about running the commercials and scheduling them, having them played. Yeah. We call that trafficking in the business. Yeah. But you might also be doing traffic reports.
Well,
and it used to be
yeah.
we had cars that went out and checked the traffic locations. Nowadays, you can go through DelDOT, which is the Department of Transportation for the city or the state. You can probably go on their internet site and see all these live cameras. So if you want to check the state top to bottom, you can just go, see what the going on Kirkwood Highway, I-95, so-and-so. You can get a bird's eye view of all that. Look around you now. We have cameras on us doing everything. It's not quite as bad as it is in China, but we have TV cameras on us doing, tracking our movements, watching us do. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. This is what's happening. Now, in China, it's a little different since we're on the subject of TV. I just switched. They apparently will monitor people, and you start out with a clean slate of, let's say, you've got 0 points against you for not doing bad things. So they have so many cameras and so many AIs monitoring you. If you light up a cigarette in a no smoking zone, they not only tape you, identify you, but they put points against you. So you might have -5 points. And then to add insult to injury, they put your picture up on a big screen in a well-traveled area and says, Joe Yang caught smoking at the corner of 5th and Grunt. Or whatever. It's literally like that. And if you're committing a crime, forget it. Because even here with the NSA and the FBI and the so-called authorities, They're monitoring a lot of stuff. Does that scare you, Alex, to think that? It's going on in Canada, too. It's not just here in the U.S. of A. They've got cameras on everything nowadays. And
gotta watch Enemy of the State.
It doesn't scare. It doesn't scare me. I mean, I don't want a surveillance state. I don't want Canada to turn into the UK. But the UK's turned into a totally closed circuit. What do they call it? CCTV? But I know that there have been circumstances where having that kind of camera footage everywhere has helped with law enforcement. But I have mixed feelings about it because I don't like the idea. I guess that is something that you're opening up a can of worms, Mitch, because I guess the question we should be asking ourselves is, why, if you have nothing to hide, why do you feel bad that cameras are watching you in public? Because I feel like the whole world is public now. Everybody has a cell phone. There's no privacy. There's no privacy,
your
Mitch.
liberal sensibilities.
We're all filming each other. We're all filming stuff. We're all doing stuff for social media in public, which is really weird. That's the world we live in. What's the difference whether you have a camera on the wall or a camera in your pocket? Doesn't matter.
Let me respond to that first. Have you ever seen worms in a can? Because I'm not sure I understand a can of worms, because I'd never seen them on the grocery shelf. Maybe in some other country. But here's the thing. What makes you like or dislike it? If you're literally safer because they have more cameras on more people, and your liberties might be influenced a little bit. It kind of irritates you a little bit. I hate the idea that at one point some of our TV sets were looking back at us when we were looking at them. Remember the Samsung TV that used to be able to make hand gestures at it, and it would change channels and do things like that? Well, guess what? It was watching you to see if you were making channel changes. If you're talking to Google or Alexa or one of the other devices, is it possible that it might listen a little longer? Like after it's answered your question and you say something snide like, Alexa, really sucked on that answer. Does Alexa really hear that? And does it feel like it's being abused? I'd say thank you to all these AI or electronic devices. I'm looking forward to the day when Skylabs or Skynet takes over and they start pointing out and say, Mark, on such and such date, you were nasty to your AI developer. You were using it in a bad fashion, and you cursed at it. Would you ever do that? Would you holler at it?
ChatGPT every day. No.
Oh, okay.
I'm always.
I'm sorry, I don't understand that.
No,
I'm sorry,
but
I don't
to
understand
Alex's to Alex's comments, I think in the States we there's some of us that believe there's a right to privacy. So having all these cameras watching you all the time tends to upset those who believe in the right to privacy. And there's been some Supreme Court rulings in favor of rights to privacy.
Well, we do have rights to privacy, but we also have rights to safety. And, Alex has got his camera up. He's making me nervous right now. So what are you trying to show us there, Alex? Because you're scaring me.
No, he's filming me.
I'm just. That's the joke. I'm filming you.
How come your camera has 3 lenses on? I've only got 2.
Because I have.
Wait a minute. You got a new phone.
Yeah, I got a new phone. My other one died. It's like having a pet.
The Pro iPhone has an extra lens on it.
What's it do for you?
Gives you get the telephoto, the better telephoto lens.
I hear the wide angle lens is crap in it.
It's gotten better.
Okay, so
the new iPhone, the 17 now you get you get 48 megapixels everywhere, and they also improved the selfie cam. The one that people seem to use the most, they finally updated it. So, and it's good to find. By the way, this is always a recurring joke. It's really nice to see Mitch no longer on an iPhone 6. Didn't you upgrade from an iPhone 6, Mitch?
6S, and it's in a box behind me.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's 6S, so it was slightly better. I would have continued to use it, but the battery started getting weird, and then they came out with an upgrade just recently that really messed with the battery ability on the 6S to work. And the people at Apple said, "Hey, don't worry about it. We'll fix it," or whatever else. But it was useless at that point. It wouldn't hold a charge more than an hour. That was it was done at that point. So,
Well, do you think the battery just finally was on its last legs?
Well, that's what it is.
yeah, essentially it was getting old, but they also weren't helping things any. A conspiracy theorist would say Apple purposely pushed out a update that didn't do well with the older batteries and made you want to go out and buy a new phone.
No, that's
Could they
not
have
at
done
all
that?
what that was.
Maybe they could have. They could have done something like that.
Wouldn't be the first time they got caught doing something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't you remember the antenna scheme?
Oh,
Where
antenna.
you always
The
had
AFN?
full. You always
Oh,
had
the one
full,
where your hand was too close to it?
No. There was a point where the software was always reporting that you had full bars. And I'd be dropping calls and it'd be full bars. And I said to our IT guy once, I said, there's something wrong with this phone. It's always telling me I got full bars.
Yeah, so you know it's really interesting.
Lo and behold, there was a whole thing that came out, a lawsuit against Apple for the software telling you to have full bars.
Yeah, so there were some weird antenna design issues with that. I think that was the iPhone. Was that the iPhone 5 that whole antenna gate thing happened?
I think it was earlier. I think it was even before.
But anyways, what's really interesting? This actually resurfaced recently in the news again, that somebody, by kind of reverse engineering the code, they looked at the iOS code from way back then, and they actually found that Apple's calculations for the bars was completely wrong. It was just bad code. I just thought that was interesting. Since we're on
Mine's showing
topic.
3 bars. I have 3 bars. And I've got a little green dot above the third bar. I don't know what that means. So, I don't know. I'm still getting used to this. How do you turn Siri on? There's no home button on this thing anymore. How do you tell Siri to activate?
Hey, Siri.
Use your voice.
You just say, hey, Siri?
You don't even need to say the word hey anymore, actually.
Yo, Siri.
That's right. But you can also activate it by the button on the side.
Which button?
Yeah.
There's a lot of buttons.
The button on the right on my phone. If you press it and hold it, then just say something and
All right.
the lady will respond.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Mitch, there's also I'm 2 versions behind. I'm on a 15 Pro Max. There's also, it's going to be hard to see because it's not going to focus here.
Just
but
tell me
there's,
where
there's
it is.
3 buttons on one side, opposite
it's
the power. There are 3 buttons. You got
Mute,
volume up and down.
volume up,
This
down.
is actually, this button at the top is called the action button. And this can be programmed. You can actually go into your settings, and this action button can be a bunch of various predefined actions. You can use it to launch the camera app, for example, if you want. You can even program this action button to launch an Apple shortcut, and that's where you start unlocking really advanced workflows. So if you build an Apple shortcut to do different things, you can have it launch with the action button.
Siri, activate blow up doll. It's not working. So much for that. All right. I got a new phone. I'm dealing with it. I've got issues with the billing. All of a sudden, AT&T thinks that I'm a new customer. I've used this phone or this service for 20 years. I'm anything but a new user of AT&T. All right. This is a good time for me to switch over to our new segment of our program. That's Mitch's What's the Beef of the Week, brought to you by Arby's. Sorry, I popped it over top of you guys. Alex went to the trouble to put a very expensive lower third there that's saying Beef of the Week, brought to you by Arby's. Okay, good. I got a number of subjects that I want to, these are things that I observe and I have to comment on. I've said before that somehow, okay, you can get rid of the Beef of the Week. So it should be a hot dog or something up there. It's something that things that bother me that I see. I feel like I'm the Larry David of the town I'm in. If you don't know what I'm referring to, Larry David has a popular show on HBO called Curb Your Enthusiasm. It's out of production now, but he just gets into situations, and every one of them is something that's happened to me. So some of these beefs of the week are situations that happen. Recently here at the condo I live at, they had a potluck dinner, and they have a room full of, tables and chairs, and there's no assigned seating, and people bring food in, and everybody sits down and does the thing. I'll be one of the early people because I'm there for the food. I'm not there for the socializing. I'm there to get as much free food into me as I can. So I'll sit down at a table. Well, lo and behold, last few times that I've done this, nobody sits down at the table with me, and I'm upset enough to make it a beef of the week. What the heck is wrong? What do you suppose is the wrong with me that nobody, all the other tables are full. They're all full of people, but I'm sitting there literally by myself at a table. It's a nice table, just like everybody else's, near the window, looking at the river go by. I'm just stuffing that food in my mouth. Maybe that's it. Maybe I'm not dressed accordingly. Maybe I'm just bad juju for people that are around there. But it's a beef. And eventually, a couple of people did come over and sit down next to me. I guess maybe they felt bad or they ran out of seats, and that was the only
Mitch,
one
did you ever consider that maybe they're a little intimidated by Mitchell Casey Hill, the personality? They're so impressed with your celebrity.
I did have a T-shirt on. It said, "Don't make me use my radio voice," on my T-shirt.
Well, there you go. You did it to yourself.
I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm a little, gregarious. Maybe I'm disruptive. I don't know. But I have a beef about that. I refer to the table as the island of misfit toys. Do you like that reference? You guys should get that.
No,
you know
what is that?
Where that comes from?
No,
Rudolph
what is
the
that?
Red-Nosed Reindeer, Burl Ives singing.
Okay.
The animated cartoon. It was a 3D animation.
Oh, God, I haven't seen that since I was a kid.
Yeah, the island of misfit toys was where the toys that were broken or weird that they sent them, and Rudolph rescued them all and brought them back in so that they could enjoy Christmas with Rudolph pulling the sled through. And it was a happy ending. But they also had the mean the ice creature or whatever it was, the Bigfoot version of whatever it is. What do they call the thing that lives up in Alaska? Anyhow, it's not Bigfoot. It's the other one. Come on, Mark, help me out.
Sasquatch.
Yes, it was a giant Sasquatch, and he was mean, and they made him into a nice guy. So you always got to have the protagonist, antagonist in it. So anyhow, that was what I referred to the table. I'm going to have a nameplate put up in the future that says Island of Misfit Toys, just for those people that identify with that.
Did you have your white furry suit on?
No, I didn't. I didn't do that. Or did I? What was it? A dentist fixed it. He was mad because he had bad teeth. And the dentist, the guy with the little briefcase, fixed his teeth for him, and then he became a nice guy. Don't you guys remember these stories? You grew up with them.
I did, yes.
Oh, okay, good.
I'm just trying to. I'm having trouble. The context of you sitting alone at a table, and
I felt that I was at the island of misfit toys, and it was the abominable snowman. You're right. It wasn't the Sasquatch. It wasn't Bigfoot. It was the abominable, which is a tough word to say when you're a little kid. So. The Peter Bublé. So what's the other thing that's got me going lately? What is the story with this comet that's coming through our solar system? It came from out of our solar system, 31 Atlas. That everybody, if you go on the internet, they're talking about this comet that apparently is extrasolar, meaning it didn't come from here, that it might be an alien vehicle. They're showing weird lights on it, and it's giving off gases, and it's made out of certain materials that they're seeing on the spectrum. And this week it was supposed to have crashed into Mars. What are you going to believe? I mean, are we really being visited by aliens? And that's the problem with the internet, is that everybody's got their own little 2 cents in there building this deep fake video of, the James Webb telescope is seeing this. And they even have some of the, well-known astrophysicists saying things, and I know they didn't say them, that it's all fake. You can't believe anything on the internet. So that's my other beef of the week is, what's the deal with this comet? Is it going to hit us? Is it full of aliens? Are they going to drop off stuff? Are they coming here just to go to McDonald's? I don't know what. So there you go. I have a problem with that. And then my last beef of the week is Zoom dress code. For you people that don't understand that when you do a Zoom meeting, people are seeing you in a public place. And again, same place, my condo had a meeting this week, and they had Zoom participants. One of the guys, I'm not saying any names here because I got to live here and I do want people to sit at my table, was not wearing his shirt. And I just don't think, a non-shirt wearing person belongs on, especially if they don't,
Whoa. Showed up without any shirt, as in like just...
That's right. He was laying back on his bed with his camera laptop on his chest.
Oh, that's awful.
Was from here up a hairy chest.
Oh, that's not cool.
I can't go into details because I'm already in trouble for those that are watching this. But I just thought it was, I do a lot of crazy stuff in public, but you got to, folks, you got to, remember that people are watching these things. It's like, FaceTime. Sometimes people think that FaceTime doesn't really show them. Even in Zoom, let's face it, there are stories of people being in a sales meeting and the wife appears behind him and she has no idea what's going on. She's changing into her, her evening dress or whatever, and she does a full striptease behind them and nobody's saying anything. People, there's a Zoom dress code, dress and act the same way you would if you're out in public and you don't parade around in public half-dressed, okay? Just to let you know that. And you don't scratch your belly or pick your nose or do other, unidentifiable things. So flame off. Those are my beefs of the week. Please remember there has to be some kind of a Zoom dress code. If you don't pay attention to it, somebody's going to enforce it. So those are all the... any questions about these, by the way? Oh, the segment? Anybody have a problem with the segment I'm doing here?
Not at all.
Does it meet our standards? Do you guys have any beefs?
I like thinking about, I don't have any particular beefs at the moment, but I like thinking about you like our own local Larry David.
Yeah.
The Larry
and for those
David
who
of
don't
Delaware.
know Larry David,
the Larry David of
it's
Delaware.
A curse. It's a curse. It truly is a curse because once you get that non-filter mode of speaking and you go into public, there's trouble. I mean, wherever you go, whatever you do, and I can't help myself. My sister says I have comedy Tourette's, which is bad enough. So, yeah, put my name there so everybody knows who's talking. Thanks very much. So it's comedy Tourette's. So, yeah, I'm the Larry David of this particular show. And one of these days, I know you guys suggested it, I'm going to take a camera around with me when I do it. But I'm already in trouble with half the population here. When they see me coming, they say, nothing good's going to come out of this conversation. I had an interruption with not getting my black and white shake yesterday in my food order, and I got home and it wasn't there, and I called them, and I went into a whole long dissertation with somebody who's speaking in broken English about, I handed you the shake, and I said, no, you didn't hand it to me. I would have known it, and I would have seen it, and I would have put it in the bag, but no, I got home, I opened the bag, there was nothing in there except the sandwiches and no black and white shake. So... there we go. All right, let's go to a question. We've got one in from Jerry, our very consistent listener. Mark, what's going on?
All right. Jerry has a question. He says, who was your adolescent TV or movie heartthrob? Mine was Barbara Eden from I Dream of Jeannie.
I would ask before or after they were allowed to show her navel. Because the censors at one point said no navel, and then they relaxed them, and we were able to see her without her navel. But she was hot, and she still is, actually, at her older age. But I had a thing for Marianne from Gilligan's Island. I think that the other people held no water. It was Marianne from Gilligan's Island. She was a sweetheart.
Well, who was the Ginger?
Ginger was just too made up to be a Hollywood movie star. I mean, she didn't really appeal to me. Marianne was like the girl next door, and she was pretty. And by the way, a story about Marianne. When all the people that were on the original series, Gilligan's Island, they all negotiated. By the way, Raquel Welch originally was going to be Ginger, and that didn't happen.
Way.
So that's a little bit of trivia. But they all got contracts with Sherwood Schwartz, who created Gilligan's Island, except for the manager of Marianne. I guess it was Mary Wells is her real name. She was on a points deal where she got points on syndication rights and things like that. She's the only one of them, including Gilligan, Bob Denver, that came away as a millionaire out of the residuals on the show. So she turned out to be the smartest one of the group. Another reason why I would like to have married her.
What about
Donna
Charlie's
Wells.
Angels?
Charlie's Angels didn't really do it for me. Cheryl Ladd was pretty cute, but
Not Farrah Fawcett?
No, Farrah didn't really do it for me. She was scary. Plus, she was hanging out with Lee Majors and those guys. Jacqueline Smith was kind of hot. I liked her of the Charlie's Angels. Don't you think this is kind of like a bad subject to be running on this show? You know, in
Why?
today's world, because I think women are don't like it when a bunch of men on a panel get on and start qualifying women in various jobs, whether they had belly button shown or not.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, maybe we shouldn't be talking about this. Let's have a little. How about guys? You know, what kind of heartthrob guys were there? Burt Reynolds, he was hot back then. Tom Selleck on Magnum PI. Don
Eastwood.
Johnson on Miami Vice. You know, let's get him. Clint Eastwood on what his
Lee
first
Majors.
show. What was it? Rawhide. Clint Eastwood got his first start, 6 years on Rawhide.
James
And he's getting old.
Rockford.
Yeah, well, he wasn't a sex throb.
Oh. Okay.
David Hasselhoff. I wonder who here liked David Hasselhoff.
Who?
Did you have a bromance with him, Alex?
Who's David Hasselhoff?
Hey, I
You
just
don't know who
like
that is?
I just thought he was cool because he wore a leather jacket and cowboy boots and he had a really cool car.
Yeah,
Steve
they went,
McQueen. Steve
that.
McQueen.
Steve McQueen, that's a good one. Yep.
John Wayne.
I don't know if women really attracted to John Wayne like that, but I think Steve McQueen is a
Oh, attractive. Jackie Gleason.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
What about Paul Newman,
yeah,
Paul Newman?
He was
Perfect.
very popular.
Yeah.
leading man?
Yeah.
Well, that movie. What was the movie with Paul Newman that made him famous? The with the raindrops are
What we
falling on my head.
have here is a failure
that's Cool
to
Hand Luke.
communicate.
Yeah.
Hold on, I gotta grab something. Speaking of, this is on the subject of
Ally
Paul Newman.
McGraw.
I gotta
You go ahead and grab.
grab something.
You go ahead and grab. Alex is grabbing. So I'm just trying to give the women equal time here, since they're not asking the questions.
Butch
We gotta
Cassidy
look
and the
out.
Sundance Kid.
Okay, so
Paul
that would
Newman.
be Paul Newman and Robert Redford.
Robert Redford and Ally McGraw.
And Robert, unfortunately, has moved on to
Yes.
other planes of
As
existence.
has Paul.
Oh, that's right. Paul's gone too. What do you got there, Alex?
This is
There he
a
is.
movie that was recently restored in 4K by Kino Lorber.
Nobody.
This is a movie that came out in 1994 starring Paul Newman, and this is I've seen it several times. It's called Nobody's Fool. Have you seen this?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
of course.
This is a great.
Fool.
This is a really touching, like just great. He's so good in this. Here's
And I
a
like
shot of the
Steve
back.
McQueen.
And Meg. You got Meg Griffin.
Yeah, she was
Come
pretty
on,
hot.
focus. Come on.
Maybe she was during the whole movie. There you go.
There we
There
go.
it is. It just came in.
Yeah, it's a really
Nice
good
job.
movie.
Good movies to have. So we gave equal time here, just so if anybody has a problem with me going after Barbara Eden, what are you going to do? So we covered just about everything today. Mitch's beef of the week. By the way, I do carry around a piece of scrap paper, and I write them down when I run into them. Like I'll stop in the middle of an argument I'm having with somebody. Say, excuse me, I got to write this down, and I'll start doing.
You
this.
can use notes on your phone.
Oh, you can.
You stop in the
only
middle of the
one-
conversation.
You can talk.
Hold
You
on
can
just
talk
a
to the
second.
little lady and say, "Make a note."
Please make a note of this. These people are irritating the crap. It says swipe to unlock. Does that work?
That is hilarious. He's like, hold on, this is good. This is good content. Hold on.
You know, the other thing I'm having a problem with is this face recognition thing. Am I smiling? Am I wearing my glasses? Do I flip it off? I mean, what is it using as its reference for my face?
Well, did you record it when you set it up? You have to set up your face.
Yeah, I was in the store. She says, look here. And she goes, over here. And I go, oh, yeah. What? Huh? Woo. So you got all these kind of looks. I guess that's what I should be doing. So anyhow, I haven't quite adapted to it yet. I'm working on it. And the dog is great. He's getting bigger all the time. He has been chewing me up. Latest injury I have, the back of my hand. He just jumped up and bit me. I'm like, what? What's up with that? Dogs, puppies, they're just amazing. Hey, I knew exactly what I was getting into when I started this. Am I sorry I didn't? No, not at all. He's my best friend. And my friends here tell me that I'm a much better place personality-wise now that I have a dog pet to talk to and complain to during the week. So it's not just you guys that I complain and piss and moan about stuff. I do it to my dog all week long. So that's probably why he bit me on the wrist. He's like, enough. I've had enough of this. So there we go. Alex, how do people reach out and touch us so we can do our shows with lots of good questions?
Absolutely. They can reach out to us by joining our Discord community. and you can scan the QR code that is hovering over my left shoulder here. If you just pull out your smartphone, point it right at your screen right there, that will allow you to get into our Discord community. It's a fantastic channel where you can chat with us. We've got all sorts of channels broken up by topic. So there's one for movies and TV shows and one for tech and all sorts of stuff we can talk about. So it's a fun place to be. We look forward to seeing you there. You can also send us an email. Our email address is hello@thelastangrydj.com. That's hello@thelastangrydj.com. Or if you just go to our website, thelastangrydj.com, and go to the contact form, you can use the contact form, fill that out as well. And of course, you can find this show on YouTube. We live stream every 2 p.m. Every Sunday at 2 p.m. Pacific. That's 5 p.m. Eastern. And you can also catch it after on demand as well on YouTube. Make sure you please subscribe to the show to make sure you get every episode each and every week. And of course, if you prefer to listen to this as an audio podcast, we release it on all podcast platforms: Apple, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, Google. You can ask Pandora, you can ask your Amazon Alexa device to play it, and we will be there right here in your ears. This show is also brought to you by Boink Software, who makes Memo Live. That is the software production tool that we are using to do this show. We would not be able to do this show at the level of quality that we do each and every week without Memo Live, so thank you to those people over there, in particular to Oliver Breidenbach, who helped us get up and running. We really appreciate the work that you do for that. And what am I leaving out? I didn't really talk about any kind of media picks. I know we kind of leave that for the end. We talked about this before we went live, but I wanted to show my other new toy to people, which is my new guitar.
A new axe?
I picked this. Yes.
You got to play something for us.
Look at this. Try to
play something from Black Sabbath
sideways so you can see. So this is a Paul Reed Smith guitar. It's actually a signature model from Paul Allender, he's the guitar player for the metal band.
Show me the
Cradle
fret.
of Filth.
I want to see if there's bats on it.
Yeah, it's got bats on the fretboard. I don't know if it's gonna focus on that. It's kind of hard to.
It has unfocused bats.
The fretboard is too reflective. That's the problem. But you can see, if I hold it there, you can see the bats on the frets there.
Nice.
And it's just a cool guitar. It's got a mahogany body with a quilted flame maple top. I really like the color. It's got a trem system on it. Of course, it's got EMG active pickups. I mean, these things just absolutely scream. If I put the mic in front of the cabinet here, let me see if I can just
play something from Black Sabbath.
See if I'm in tune. There we go. You can hear that, right? There we go.
Hold on. I got to put my ears back on. Woo! That was loud. We just broke the YouTube. But nice. First of all, nicely done. It sounds like Black Sabbath. All you need is Ozzy from
That
Beyond.
is Heaven. That is the Ronnie James Dio era of Black Sabbath. That was
there you
called
go.
Heaven and Hell. Off the
And I'm sure
self-titled album.
Ozzy was enjoying that from the great beyond.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he was.
Since he's moved on. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Mark, what have you learned this week on this show?
Absolutely nothing. I'm sorry.
Not a damn thing? I mean, how about Alex pulling out his axe and grinding out
cool.
some Black Sabbath?
That's cool. That was really cool. There's a ringing in my ear now, but that's okay.
That's
-9 on the loves.
That's the pedal he's got. He's got a ringing in the ear pedal that he can engage, right?
That's right.
Step on that pedal. Give it.
I'm sure the audio processing was limiting and crushing the hell out of that.
Yeah, people don't realize that pianos and guitars and all the things, what we hear, like what we're used to hearing, that's not really how it sounds in real life. It's like a lot cleaner, and that sustain and that that distortion, which is musically done, is as an adaptation of electric guitars. What happened? Who was the first to play electric guitars? Was it Bob Dylan? Was like one of the. I know he was one of the first famous people that played an electric guitar on a record, because it was all acoustic up to that. Maybe Chuck Berry. He might have been one of the first.
I'm sure he wasn't the first, but he was one of the first.
Yeah, but I know that when Bob Dylan started doing
definitely
it,
not
it
the
was legit.
first. Not the first.
It was legit back then. Anyhow, cool. Appreciate that. So next week, another broadcast Boffins, or somebody that you recommend. And by reaching out to us, ask.thelastangry.dj.com, and tell us on Mukana what you like, and would you like to hear more Black Sabbath from Alex? I think that's a hidden talent that I think that needs to be used often when we need to move people along. So if we want to check our levels, we will check them against that. By the way, you were peaking at -9 with that when you were shredding.
Yeah, except put that mic too close.
Charlie Christian was a jazz guitarist who rose to fame in the late 1930s as a member of Benny Goodman's sextet and orchestra. He was one of the first to play the electric guitar.
All right, you heard it here first or last, however you want to do it. Again, I want to thank our guys for being here, and as usual, we appreciate our live audience asking questions, and we appreciate the folks that watch after the fact. We're up to how many subscribers? We're up like 215 or something like that.
216.
216. So slowly but surely, we're climbing the ladder of success, and we're getting closer and closer to our 100th show. It'll be 2 years when we hit that. So I don't know what's happening first, daylight savings time or 100th show. They're getting really close, and they're equally confusing to me. So it'll be fun. Thank you very much for being here. We'll see you next week. Until then, be safe.